Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is the Listening Mentor. Our topic is, when plans change, how do we listen and not react? Starring the expert and the wonderful person who brings so much insights and light and levity and love to our program. It's the Harley Street stress expert, Caroline Heward. Let's welcome her. She's joining us from London. Hello.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Yeah.
That's a really lovely announcement and bringing me in. Oh, thank you very much.
You are so welcome. And, when I was coming up with this topic, I really had you in mind, in addition to having myself in mind, because things happen. We put our heart and soul into things, and they don't exactly go the way that we think they're supposed to go, even though everything led us on to believe that it was sort of like dominoes. It was all going in one direction. All of a sudden, plans are changing. So before we get into the topic, tell us about your work and how you help people.
Okay, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Okay, my work. I'm known as the Harley Street stress expert. So what do? I help you literally bust your stress. How do I do that? I help you with any matter of what's causing your stress, whether it's physical, ache and pain, whether it's emotional, sadness, loneliness, heartache, or whether it's mental, stress, anxiety, depression. So if you're not sure whether you suffer with stress, it'll be whatever you're complaining about. I hear people say, oh, I'm not stressed, but I don't sleep very well, and I've had this permanent headache for 5 years, and that's your stress. So if you have got symptoms like that, or you're complaining about anything, anyone, or circumstance or situation, I can literally help you bust through that stress. And I do that freely by offering a free consultation, either on Zoom, Skype, or phone, if you're a little bit embarrassed by video, to help you bust your stress. I look at one symptom for free, and obviously we're walking around with more than that. So, if you want more from me in terms of looking at all the other aspects of what causes your stress, we can literally organise a plan. You can reach me on nomorestress@live.co.uk or call +44 if you're international 07523 120 189. And I help you identify the root cause that's caused the situation in the first place from when it first materialized. I look forward to helping you bust your stress.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And I loved when you said, and you're walking around with a headache for 5 years, but you're not stressed out. So it's funny because people can tell us things and we can see something in other people, but we can't see it in ourselves.
Absolutely right. There's many times that people say, I'm not stressed, but I don't sleep at night. I just say, that is what's causing your stress.
Yes, for sure. And with our topic about when plans change, I know for myself, when I was in corporate, I had to plan because we had clients, we had to travel, you've goals you have to meet. And I was very, very structured. I'm still very structured, but I was very structured in terms of knowing exactly what I was doing, when and where, months and months in advance. And today I'm pretty much week by week is the way that I work. And I'm open and expecting for things to change. Whereas before it was pretty much like everything has to be the way that it's supposed to be. Now I just think to myself, okay, I know something's going to change. It's going to go wrong. You just had a situation, you don't have to go through in detail if you don't want to, but you had a situation where things really changed for you and affected you in a lot of ways. And how did you deal with it? If you want to share what it is, that's great. And if not, that's okay. But how did you deal with the change?
I'm more than happy to. I could write a book on it, actually, to be honest. On my birthday, which was Wednesday, the 26th of April, I had this high expectation. So expectation is one of the challenges when we start to react. I had this really high level of expectation that I would exchange on the sale and the purchase of my new property. Now, without putting all the balls and all the story into the equation on this show, it didn't happen. And I didn't find out that it wasn't going to happen until about 4:30 after being in calls and emails from 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's how I spent my birthday day, because I was so convinced. I just had to get this one over the line. I just had to sort out this, and I carried on, and I was very much in the action. And then by the end of it, when I got the news that it wasn't going to happen, I just burst into tears. And then I got very angry in that, my gosh, all this work. And this is how you can handle when things don't go right, is to express your emotion. So at the point that I literally was falling apart, I let the tears out. And letting the tears out that I felt at that point, because I was very tired, I'd been working right up against the clock to make it happen. And I was just literally going to book the parking and the removal company. And I had a conversation with my solicitor. And he said this, and it was very clear. He was very specific, precise, and to the point. I said, should I book my removal company because they need it tonight? And the parking dispensation also needs to be booked, and I don't know what to do. And he gasped, oh, do you know, we haven't exchanged contracts. And he says, until you have a contract that's signed, you shouldn't spend any money or book anything until you know for sure. And I said, you know what? Thank you. I needed to hear that, because I was at an emotional roller coaster that we were just there. We were just getting there. And I just needed to do this and I just needed to do that. And I needed the voice of reason. And my voice of reason was with my amazing solicitor that took my call, and I'd already spoken to him in the morning. And he said, it's not a good idea. Book it on your own volition. If it doesn't work, I can't take responsibility. And solicitors, they're very level-headed, they will just, they're not emotional, they're just they're factual. And I listened. And I listened despite the fact that I was in this emotional roller coaster of it's going to happen, we're going to make it happen. And then the following day, I actually had another email through to say, well, as it's not going to happen on Wednesday next week, that's the 3rd of May, it's now not going to happen until the 31st of May. And so from that perspective, I just literally felt deflated, totally. But what I did, after crying and having a shower from head to foot, I prepared myself to enjoy my birthday celebration, which was an ecstatic dance. And I decided to dance out all the feelings and all the emotions. And I really did some root chakra dancing and really, really got myself grounded. And I felt at the end of it completely orgasmic. So I went through what I would call a roller coaster of emotions and allowed myself to feel, to express, so I could move through it.
Incredible. I didn't know you were finished. Okay.
Sorry.
I was like waiting. Okay. That's also a lot to deal with on your birthday as well, a special day that you're looking forward to, and then you get this news. Did you ever at any point since that time think that maybe this is a good thing?
Since that point, and on my way to a meditation last night, so that was the second evening that I was doing something for myself. I had an intimate, there's only 5 of us at a gong bath with a wonderful, wonderful shaman cat. And I met one of my friends and we shared it together. And I said, I have some interesting news, some good news and some, I don't know, news. I says, what do you want to hear first? And she said, oh, well, just give it all to me. And I says, would you like the interesting news? Good news. She said, yeah, go on. And so I said, okay, it's fallen through in terms of the completion date. So I'm still going to be in London next weekend. And she says, oh, great. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, this has been met very positively. And that's because she wants me to open her book launch. And the book launch is on Saturday evening, and I would have had to have come back from where I was moving to back into London. And I also had booked a concert in London for the Friday, and I would have had to have come back for that too. So I was going to come back Friday and go back to Doncaster on Sunday. So it was a very busy weekend coming back to London. I was going to spend a couple of days with her, and now I don't have to do that. And that means that I can be at the King's coronation as well, which I thought I'd miss. And so there's a lot of things happening in May. And maybe, you know, it gives me more time. And this will make the viewers smile. It will give me more time, because I didn't do it, to clear the clutter from the drawers, to go through the clothes in the wardrobe, and to also start going through more of my files so I don't take as much with me. And I now have another month to do that. And I now still have another month to see clients face to face in London. So it has a very big silver lining and lots of positives, even though I really, really wanted, I had my heart and soul set on moving, and I've accepted it and found a silver lining in all of it.
I love what you just shared. And I think it's also interesting that when you started this journey of making the move out of London, it didn't go so smoothly from the very beginning. You've had a lot of ups and downs. And so to some people, when things go wrong in their life, they think to themselves, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to go in this journey. So you could have easily said, I'm just going to stay in London because all the signs are basically pointing towards me staying right where I am. What is it that gave you the strength to look beyond and keep pushing forward?
This might make you smile. I want to garden. I've been in London for 24 years and been without a garden. And so what I have, and the viewers can't see here, I have about 24 plants in my living room. So what I did was I brought the garden, you know, my green, into my home. And at the same time, I would still love a garden, you know. So that's one of the big things. And
now, living in London, you have all different seasons, right? In one day, you could have 4 different seasons.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So I would think it'd be difficult to have an actual garden outside as opposed to in your house when you don't know what the weather is going to be like.
Well, just to have the doors open and the fresh air, and to go out when it is really nice, because we can have some really nice hot summer days, and I was already looking for outdoor plants. I nearly bought some. I'm so glad I didn't. and so it's like I'm now planning the garden. You know, it's got a lovely archway in it, and it's almost like I'm being given more time to sort out, because I've done a lot of focus on making everything right for my buyer. And I've not really focused on what my own personal needs are. And this is really interesting about my purchase. And so my solicitor actually said, he said, you've done a lot of work on the buyer and you've made sure that everything is right. He said, I would like you to turn your attention onto your purchase. And that was really fascinating, because I hadn't acknowledged that I was focused totally on making everything right for the person buying my property, and not
you are a perfectionist, right? Everything has to be perfect. You have to be in control.
And you know, he actually, my solicitor said, I've never seen anybody produce what you've produced, you know, the emails, I've read them, the times of night that you're writing the emails. And what it's telling me is that I do want to pass on a really lovely, properly organized property that doesn't have those challenges that I'm actually, you know, could be facing if I hadn't done the same for myself. So what I've done is I've focused outwardly rather than focusing inwardly. And this month is actually giving me time to make sure that my purchase is actually everything that it should be, just like how I've managed the person who's buying my property. So it's very interesting because when you're a healer or a therapist, you tend to focus on others first in the respect of what their needs are. And it's shown up in me purchasing a property. So very insightful for me.
That is very insightful. Thanks for sharing that. Caroline, for the people who are watching and going through all kinds of changes in their life, I know with me, I've gone through many, I'm sure there's many more to come. How do we really determine if when we put a plan in place and it's moving forward just as we would like, versus when there are all these obstacles coming, how do we know which way we really were supposed to go? Because the obstacles and the challenges could be the key learnings for us in our life versus we're just doing everything according to plan and everything's working out well. So we could look at either one of these two paths and have different perspectives on it. But when things are not going the way we'd like them to go, does that mean that we are right where we're supposed to be? Or does that mean we screwed up and we're supposed to learn something?
It's fascinating that you're asking me this because I was very fixed on moving to South Wales, and I had an area in mind close to the beach. And I'd been fixed on that area for a number of years. I'd always wanted coastal. And that was the plan, always, for many, many, many years. And then it just wasn't working. This property didn't sell and it wasn't working. And the place that I'd decided, and I don't want to like sort of denigrate any area, you know, so I'll just say an area that I really focused on in South Wales, near the coast. Last year, around this winter time, I heard on the news, so where I was looking at, which was coming on our London news, saying there were floods and people were suffering with home damages, and there were all the streets, the river, the sea had overflowed. And I kind of thought, whoa, sometimes things happen for a reason. And you know, I kind of thought if I'd have completed and bought somewhere there, then I would have had a bit of a nightmare on my hands. So sometimes I think the timing is divine, you know, and I had to let go of coastal. And so this is where I'm kind of sharing that it'll come to a point that you kind of get it, you know, and I wouldn't get it. So I just looked at another area that was coastal. And I went into those properties because I'd got my buyer in place. And so I thought, well, you know, not South Wales, that's not going to work. So let's go somewhere else up north. So I did. I viewed some properties and they were suffering with flood damage. So the walls were wet, the floors were wet. And I thought, you know what? Maybe coastal isn't a good idea. But I had to go and prove it. Do you know what I mean? I was so fixed. And I feel that this is what you can do to make sure that you know that what's coming up and the conflicts and when it's challenging. I then was staring at, you know, having to sort out flood risks. Would I get insurance on it? And all these things came up, and I just thought, you know what, as much as I want to have a coastal property, maybe I just have to buy something that's a bit further up so I don't have to suffer with flood risks. And
so I have a question for you for that. Suppose you're someone who likes to take risks. Suppose you're someone who thinks that that's an opportunity, that you're going to move in, you're going to fix everything up, you're going to get the flood insurance, you're going to have the view. And that's a completely different perspective, the one that you took. So how are we supposed to know which is the one that's best for us? It sounds like in your situation, you are at peace with the decision that you made. But I feel every day in life, we're confronted with choices, and some of them might be a little riskier than others, but there's a payout that might come with one as opposed to another. And maybe that payout is what we're actually looking for.
And it does depend how risk averse you are. You know, I've when there was some pension problems here in you know, sort of in England, all my money, a lot of my money that I put in very safe government type secure pensions, I literally lost thousands. It was a number of years ago, and I just lost thousands overnight, you know, because the market plummeted. And I just thought, you know what, I could have just put that under my bed. I could have burnt it, you know. And so
you could have danced around it.
And I just thought, you know, I put it somewhere I thought was somewhere safe. And that's the point, that I believed from, you know, sort of all the government, you know, bonds and the government, you know, sort of ISAs and things like that, that the places I'd put it on were very bona fide. And then I thought, you know what, nothing's safe, so I can do whatever I like with it. You know? So I got very risk averse then. I got very risque in terms of what I did with the pension. And what was fascinating is in that being taking that risk strategy, my wonderful pension guy who looks after my pension for me, he trades it. And he did some, what he called was high risk strategies. And he doubled my pension that he was, the small pot of pension that he was playing with. And he doubled it very quickly over in less than a year. And it was because I'd become a bit more risque. So and he actually said, you know, you've taken some wise decisions and you've done quite well, you know. So it has its downsides and its plus sides, and I can be a bit risque, and at the same time I'm also very sensible as well, you know. So I kind of, you know, and we can all be a bit like that. Or some people are very safe, very secure and very safe. I spoke to somebody that actually heals my shoes, because it's a nice community around here.
Shoe healer? I haven't heard of that before.
Yeah, there's a shoe healer that actually, I take my boots and my shoes and he sorts out the heels, and yeah, it's what we do in the UK.
We call it shoe repair.
Ah, right. Oh, well, yeah.
I like healer better. That's nice.
And I told him that I'd sold my property and I was moving away to Doncaster, and he said, wow. He said, I don't know whether I could move. He said, you know, I know too many people here. You know, how do you do that? You know, where would I shop? You know, where I wouldn't know where to start. And I had a really interesting exchange with him, because he was admiring me, because he thought that I was very risque. And I thought, well, you know, and that was because he said he didn't know how to go about it. He says, how did you find the area? So I did a bit of research. But it was kind of, I realized to him that I was actually looking like I was, you know, sort of living on a knife edge, if you know what I mean. And so it depends on your perspective and how you live your life. I mean, I don't mind not knowing anybody, because I know it will be easy for me to just rebuild what I built here. So I'm going there knowing no one, and I'm sure I'll build community real quick. So
I know you will. Absolutely. Caroline, I know when I decided to retire from my corporate job in March of 2020, and I met with my my supervisor, and I told him that I was leaving. I gave him the letter, and he looked at me and he said, wow, you were really brave. He said, I wish that I could find the courage to go and do that. And I didn't really think I was very brave. I just thought that what I was doing wasn't really working anymore. And I had done it for so long. And without any experience, I wanted to go out on my own and try it, knowing that the road ahead was going to be one that I didn't know much about. And I'd have to do my research, and I'd have to be mentored and coached by people who were where it is I wanted to go. But many people, to your point, as you're just referencing this person, don't want to get out of the comfort zone. And so when their plans do change, it could be something very traumatic, which can cause some kind of breakdown. So as a therapist, do you have to understand what the person's tolerance for risk is before you guide them? Or do you basically just let them share, get everything off their chest, and then let them figure out what the answer is?
They do tell me in their own way, because when they're sharing what the problems are, I get from what they're saying is where their risk is, where they're not feeling comfortable to move. And for some people, they're in relationships for a very long time, and they won't leave a relationship that's not working because they don't know what's on the other side, and so they're suffering. And that's extremely sad, and it's very true. You will be surprised how many people will stay in a relationship because it's a known for them. There's like a comfort in that challenging relationship, despite the fact they know it's not good for them. They almost like stay there because it's what they know, and that's something that there's like a magnet and attraction between the two people that is bringing that together, and there's something they have to get from that. There's an investment there on both sides. And so, yes, I speak to a lot of people that are in difficulties in terms of relationships, with their friendships, intimate relationships, whether it's a work relationship, a partnership. And, one of the things that I always share is honesty and authenticity. It's important, because if you don't share how you're feeling, if there's a challenge in that relationship, whichever level it's on, if you don't share what your concerns are, the other person is so wrapped up in their own that they don't know, or they might not think. And so I do feel it's important to be in a level of honesty so that that friendship relationship can actually move forward in the right way, because you don't know how a change or your suffering can affect somebody else, and because you're so consumed. And so authenticity, and certainly the British are not very good at expressing when they're in trouble, when something's not working. We'll kind of keep it very close to our chest, because we don't like to show that something's not working. We like to kind of we're known to have a British stiff upper lip, so to kind of, look like everything's okay, but actually underneath we're dying, sort of all this stuff going on. We've got to kind of say, hey, everything's great. But actually, it's important to recognize that it's life and things happen. And it's actually not about what happens. It's about how we respond.
It is, for sure. But I want to go back to something that you already said. So in a relationship, many times, just like in a career, people aren't happy, but they stay. So for the example, in the career, I started out with a telecommunications company, and I thought I would stay there forever, because that's what you did in our generation. You get a job and you stay with the company, and you're loyal with the company, and how could you ever leave? And with relationships, especially with marriages, people take vows, and if you're religious, you take it really seriously that you're not going to ever leave. So how can someone make a change in either of those situations when their loyalty is to the company, their loyalty is to their partner?
Well, I can give you a personal example of my own. I had a marriage that didn't really work, and I sought help outside of the marriage and out of the friendships, sort of family and peers. And I went and did a chakra healing journey. I don't do things by halves. And that sort of, kind of took me on my path really to where I am now. And I changed within the relationship. And I was then able to express from a different place of understanding, awareness, and inner healing. So I could come from a different, because I didn't have the words for what wasn't working. I just knew that I wasn't happy. And what I also did was I shared my homeworks, because they were very extensive, pieces of writing, and I shared them. And that was kind of bringing my then husband into, my journey. And he was always interested to hear, not interested to be participating in it. But, I kind of went on my own therapy and training experience that changed me to the point that my then husband said, I didn't leave you, you left me. And that was because I changed and I became different to who he married. And that wasn't bad or wrong. That was just that we evolve at times. And he'd actually stayed the same. I evolved into this, what I'm sure he was thinking I was a trippy therapist. You know, I was this successful corporate girl, and then suddenly, you know, who we met, and then I become this tripped out therapist that's meditating and omming, you know, and that wasn't really what he bought into. That was what made me feel more complete. And that wasn't what he signed up to. So from that perspective, I did leave him. So there was no wrongs there. It's just that I found a different way. And so when it is like that, then there was the issue about forming, you know, sort of the ending. And the ending was already there. We just had to do the formal bit of it.
But I want to dive into that a little bit deeper, and thank you for your transparency. So in that analogy, since you two took vows and you got married, is it incumbent upon him to change to now be more in alignment with you? Just like if a corporation changes their branding or changes their philosophy for the employees as brand ambassadors to change along with them?
No. Some couples grow closer and some people grow apart. And because I was changing, we grew apart. I didn't see that I was evolving and moving away from him. It was only when he shared with me that it wasn't that it wasn't working. It was just that I left him, you know. From that space of what I was doing, my life became very full with my new work and my new mission and my new life purpose. And he was still doing the same. And he essentially said he missed me. And so this is what happens to many couples that do a healing journey of sorts, or, you know, some kind of management training. Sometimes they grow and they expand together, and other times, and I've seen many couples go through this, that they grow to such a point that they actually grow apart, and then their meaning, their purpose changes with their evolvement. And there's no rights or wrongs in that, you know, there's just what is, you know. So nobody has made an error, you know, and essentially I was very fixed in my religious views, and I didn't want to leave him. And, you know, I came up with a very strict view on, you know, marriage being, you know, forever, for life. And, you know, he very candidly said, one of us had to do something and I knew you wouldn't. And that was because, you know, I kind of was fixed in this, if it's not working, I still have to make it work. So he gave me, you know, my freedom. And although it was very challenging, I feel that we both grew from that, you know, because we had to handle everything inside of what wasn't working. And many people have to do that, and they scrap it out in the courts, and then they spend lots of money, you know, in the courts and between the solicitors. And, you know, in terms of the way that I handled it, I can see the only way that the only thing that achieves is that the solicitors get a nice big fat fee at the end of it. And the people that are in the relationship that are trying to make it work are the ones that are in sheer disarray, and the people that are benefiting. So the lawyer solicitors, they like somebody arguing about a dog, arguing about access rights to different things, because that means more money for them. And that's not to denigrate them. That's just to say it's how it is.
Caroline, you did a Talking Heads episode about dark feminine energies, and I just want to bring in the masculine and the feminine when we talk about change. And for example, these next 2 weeks for me are just very full with a lot of things that I don't want to do, a lot of things I have to do, a lot of things I'm looking forward to doing. So I have moved into my masculine energy. And I just was sharing this with one of our friends earlier today. And what I'm wondering from a therapist perspective is there a correlation? If so, what is it to being in a masculine or feminine energy when we are going down a path of embracing change? Are we stronger in our masculine energy when we're about to evolve and change? Are we weaker in our feminine energy, or is there no connection whatsoever?
This is an amazing question, of
Ta-da!
course.
That's why they keep me here.
That's why
they keep me here. There's no one here to keep me but me.
You're on it tonight, just Dr. JACALYN. It is about stepping into your masculine energy. That's what I've had to do to get things done the way that I've got things done. And that is one of the reasons why when you're a woman and you step into your masculine energy, it can be very draining, because you're in an energy that's very focused, very laser sharp, very mental energy, and it can be very, very draining. Which is why at the end of Wednesday, when it was time for me to get ready, and I got the news of like it's not going to happen, I burst into tears. So I went into my feminine energy. I just let rip, and I thought, you know what, and it was, I felt okay to release from an emotional place, because that was real. That what was driving me to get everything done to the point that I had was being in my masculine energy. And yes, we're both masculine and feminine. Both men and women are masculine and feminine. The feminine is very creative energy. It's very collaborative. So during the time that I've been in this going backwards and forwards and getting to the place where I am now, there has been a hell of a lot of collaboration. There has been a hell of a lot of conversation and communication, a lot of kindness and asking and gratitude, which is very feminine. In that energy, asking, is it possible? It would be amazing if you could do this. It would be amazing if you could reach this deadline for me, because of this. And it's amazing how much you can get done like that, because people like to be asked, they like to be thanked, and it makes them feel good and you feel good. And at the same time, that's the feminine energy. But actually the physical actions of the emails, it's very logical. The physicality of the calls, it's very logical. And the sort of getting down the detail, going through, I've got to go through those contracts, and I'm kind of going, oh gosh, I can't face this right now. I have to kind of be in a calm space. That's masculine energy, looking at, the specificity of detail. And we all have it. And so it is about feeling comfortable to step into your masculine energy, to get the things done that you need to get done, but also feel comfortable to step out and relax and do something that's in your feminine energy, so that you're rewarding yourself.
I'm relating to everything that you're saying, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm here in my feminine attire, right? My feminine costume, but inside is the masculine energy. Even with the show, staying on point, staying on time, leaving here, going to work out and being like a drill sergeant, getting it done. So I just know for myself, whether it's upcoming change or dealing with stress or getting things done, that I am in my masculine energy quite a lot. And it is very exhausting, but the amount of things that I get done is incredible. So I'm very grateful for it. And at the same time, I also feel, we don't have time to talk about this today, but I think we've addressed it before, that if I'm in my feminine energy most of the time, I feel like I'm vulnerable. I feel like there's the potential to be hurt. And if I'm hurt, that means the emotions are going to come out. When the emotions come out, then I'm off point of what it is I need to do. And I don't have the luxury of being off point. So I don't miss that feminine side that I was in for such a long time, because I'm on a mission right now.
I'll share something with you that will make you and the audience smile, I'm sure. We have at the moment, we had for the last 3 weeks some roadworks, which meant that the removal company couldn't drive down our road. And I was starting to get very frantic because that had to be sorted. So I spoke to all the different publics, the highways, the parking suspension, the water company. I really was on it, very in my masculine energy to get something done. And I got all the emails backwards and forwards and people responding. And then one of the parking person that I've been speaking to, Helen, amazing lady. Oh my gosh, this lady is amazing. She'd spent time with me. I felt like I found a friend. And she phoned me up at 8 o'clock that morning. She said, I suggest you go out and speak to the site manager, because he will be able to guide you, because he's on site. I went out and I beelined for the first person I could find. And I gave him my plight. I said, can I speak to a manager? I need to speak to the site manager. He said, you can speak to me. I said, oh, great. Oh, fantastic. So that's my feminine energy. Oh, my gosh, I'm so happy, found the right person. And then I explained my plight. The road's blocked. How's my removal company going to come in? How am I going to move? I've got to complete. The works are still going on. He said, don't you worry. Everything is okay. We will give you permission. We will move it. And I said, oh my gosh, that's amazing. See, feminine energy. That's amazing. Thank you. And then I said, do you know what? You made me so happy. I was crying. I had tears of joy. And then I said, do you mind if I give you a hug? And he said, no.
Yeah, you're dating.
And I gave him a hug. So what am I getting at here? I was using both feminine and masculine in the space of not kind of manipulating, but in the space I was feeling. I was tired. I was really drained because I was up till all hours, sorting out these emails. And my solicitor will attest that, to the level of detail to make sure, because they're very compliant. So they have to know dates, times, why, the rationale, and because the sex corporate girl, I know what they need. So I gave them everything they needed, and I got instant responses, which I was really happy about. And then I got a response back from the highways saying, hi, Caroline. You've already spoken to the site contract and he's very happy to support you. And I'm just thinking, wow, this is feminine. Like, this is a deal. This is a very masculine problem. There's blocked roads, can't get access. I could have gone in there and whinged and moaned and been really complaining. But what I did was, if you can help. I actually asked the person that took my message down. I said, can you finish it off with pretty please?
Were you batting your eyelashes too? Well, I'm actually putting together a course on the power of negotiating, and I think I need to put it together with you because I think that you figured it out. But my dear friend, we have to go. We are at the end of our show today. I'm really enjoying this. I'm sorry that we have to end it. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you, and who should contact you?
If you are stressed and if you've had the kind of experience that I've described, because moving home and selling and buying is one of the most stressful things that you can go through, along with divorce and relationship breakdowns and also bereavement issues. So if you are suffering with any type of stress, reach out. I offer a free telephone consultation if you're shy about the video. You can reach me on +44 if you're international. If you're local, 07523 120 189, or email me on nomorestress@live.co.uk. Tell me what the problem is, and let's schedule a free Zoom, Skype, or telephone call. I want to help you. Allow me to help you, because I know I can. If I can manage my kind of stress that I've had for the last few weeks and in a very, very challenging time, I'm sure I can help you see a different perspective and help you through some of your challenging times.
Bust your stress. Bust your stress. Contact Caroline to bust your stress. I will let you go. And I just want our audience to know that Pet Psychic Amina is on holiday today. So we are finished for the week, and we will be back on Monday. This show will be replayed with our other shows 5 or 6 more times over the weekend. You can also watch all of our shows on demand at your leisure on our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV and Radio. Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you so much to everyone who's watching or listening on the live or the replay. We do appreciate you. If you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows, you can go to our website, which is usaglobaltv.com. Thanks for now. Bye, Caroline. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye.